So you want to try and get as much volume as you can. So you don't want to have the master all the way up and the input, on 2. Reason for that is tone controls come after your input gain. The more gain the tone controls get, the more it affects your tone. So if you don't have a whole lot of gain going in, the tone controls don't do anything. Now, this kind of sidesteps. If you're on a stage, let's say at some place like Gordon Biersch, then you're leaving it up to the sound guy to try and fix your tone. If he knows you, he can fix your tone. He can get the sound that you usually get out of your amp. If your tone is inconsistent, he's going to make whatever tone sounds good to him. By the same token, with this little amp, I can make it so that I don't need the mains. Right now, he's got me in the house mostly because it's making his cameras happy. I can get way too much volume out of this little rig. A lot of guys like to walk in with a stack like that to play Hawaiian trio music. No. You don't need it. You don't need it anywhere. Your bass rig really should be more of your monitor and a monitor for the band. Not try and fill the house. No matter what. Even if there's not a PA up there, you're only concerned with right here, not the entire bar. But, again, with a rig like this, I can hit the back wall and irritate somebody back there. That's not the goal, because that's not music. Again, you're not being musical. The groove goes away because all it becomes is this big rumble. So, let's see. So what have we talked about? We talked about technique. Okay, time. I think I've skipped a whole bunch of stuff, didn't I? Time. Again, if your technique is where your hand is just all over the place, your time cannot be consistent. It cannot, because you're never going to hit the string the same way twice. If you talk to any drummer, they talk about a strike zone on the drums. They're trying to hit the same place every time. If you notice, the 2 toms sit like this. So, I used to play drums. That's what I did a little bit. Not a drummer. I play drums. If you hit on top, towards the top of the drum, because it's tilted like this, it's closer to you. So now that drum, you've just hit it early. If you hit towards the bottom of the drum, you just hit it late because it's farther away from you. So drummers usually try and hit dead center on all the drums, unless they're dead flat. They never are. Drummers are, but the drums aren't. So, same thing with when you're playing. Your technique should be really relaxed. If you watch just that little bit of stupidity I did earlier, I said that word again. If you watched what I did earlier, it's all relaxed. You can play as fast as you want. Relaxed. The only time you see bass players is because they're on a big stage and there's 50,000 people out there and it looks really boring. When you start getting tired, which you will, tendency is you start playing harder. There's no way around that. But you have to keep reminding yourself to play relaxed. So even if you're so if you think it's just because I'm playing light, it doesn't matter how hard you're playing, how soft you're playing. You should be relaxed, and your strike zone should be in the same place. The way to get your strike zone. Some people like to put their fingers on the pickup, or if you're playing like a Fender bass, you have this little piece of wood over here. People with a 5-string like to use the low B as their anchor point. It doesn't matter. When you take lessons, your teacher will tell you, this is where you put your thumb. Learn it that way. Once you're comfortable, once you can be consistent, you can find what works for you. For me, it moves around depending on what style I'm playing and what I'm trying to achieve. So, eh. It's all relaxed and playing the same thing, moving my hand around, different tone, slightly different feel. Some people use their thumb. I'm not a thumb player. Learn to do it two different ways. The reason I don't like to play with my thumb is when I want to get silly, that's the word I'll use. When I want to get silly and, throw in fills that don't need to be there, it's too hard to get around fast. Man, nobody has any questions? I mean, really, go ahead, yes.
Is compression used to get more sustain, and can you use compression incorrectly because you just got dead strings?
He's got a good ear. Okay, because I think he's hearing it, and that's why he's asking. I do have a little bit of compression on here, and I'll get to, that's another T, would be toys. This is my Irritate the Guitar Player toy. Find me a guitar player with that distortion in a small rig like that. Guitar players hate me for that. With toys, you can get more sounds. Don't be afraid of toys. Compression is really good because I have this set up with light compression but heavy limiting. The reason for that is when you're doing this, it's not going to get any louder, but I have room for dynamics. Guitar players use compression to try and keep the level even at pretty much whatever volume they're playing at. So that way you get more sustain. Basses inherently should have more sustain because they have more mass to begin with. If you're trying to get more sustain by using a compressor, you probably have the wrong bass. Okay, different basses will give you a different tone, a different feel. And, that's one of the reasons why there's so many brands, there's so many different makes and styles of basses. So if you need a lot of sustain, you probably need a heavier bass, probably made out of mahogany, something like that. You can discuss that with the knowledgeable sales staff here at Easy Music.